So when I'm looking at as far as like who I think is under pressure, I don't know if this is going to come as a surprise to you guys or not, but somebody I do feel like should be under the most pressure is Trevor Lawrence. He came
Yeah.
out in what 2021, and he was already kind of in a similar position as Marvin Harrison Jr., where he was touted as basically like the next Peyton Manning, right? That's what he was touted as. He was supposed to be this big time player. There was a lot on him, and I do think like his first year or two, he kind of got let off the hook for some things, but at this point. You know, you're going into the 2025 season. You know, he left. I believe he had 10 games he played last year before he ended up getting hurt and getting put on IR. But in that time period that he was there, he had 11 passing touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So I'm not great at math. So one of y'all can correct me if this is wrong. But I played with some math just to see like if he would have played the 7 additional games based on what he was already doing, he would have ended somewhere in the 25 touchdowns, 18 interceptions range. 2023, he was 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He's only had 1 year, which was 2022, when he didn't have a double amount of interceptions, and they did go to the they did go to the playoffs, and he threw 5 picks in the playoffs. So he has the ability. He shows flashes.
They won the game.
Nonetheless, he still threw 5 picks. I don't care if they won the game.
It's the Chargers, though, right? Everyone beats the Chargers in the playoffs.
Just saying.
I'm just saying he did.
He has flashed at times, okay? But for me, everybody really again, coming in 2021, first round pick, everybody had him touted as the next Peyton Manning of this era. And for me personally, I have not seen it. Now, the reason I say he's under pressure now is because of the big contract he's already signed, right? I believe it was in 2024 that he signed. That is 5 years, $275 million contract extension, right? They already gave it to him, so he's already got his bag, okay? Then they went into the draft last year and got him a high-power wide receiver, okay? And then they came in this year, and this year is where I'm saying he has the most pressure, is because not only did they make some big moves in order to increase, you know, what he has around him, they made one of the biggest moves in the 2025 draft, almost into like what the second pick. They traded up. They gave up a second round and next year's first for Travis Hunter. Now, if you're telling me he's coming in now on paper, in my opinion, they have a top 5 wide receiver duo between Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. So if you come into that, and they did also during the offseason, they added on to their O-line, tried to give them some extra protection. So right now, for me, in the way that the Jags have worked, I feel like religiously in the last several years to try to build around him, he has no excuses in 2025. There are absolutely no excuses for him whatsoever for you to not to be able to perform. You haven't given, I'm not going to say that the running back is great, but you still have, in my opinion, like I would say like a top 12 running back, right? So you have a running back, you have an O-line, you have wide receivers. There's no excuse at this point. Like, there's absolutely no excuse. The amount of picks this man is throwing is insane. And like I said, he has 1 year where he had less than 10, right? And his last 2 years is ridiculous. So at this point, I look at Trevor Lawrence in the same amount that y'all were just speaking of Caleb Williams. If he goes into this year in 2025 and the Jags have a very similar year to what they had this past year, where, you know, they lost what? They were like 4 and whatever the ending of their score was. If you had that bad of a season at the end of 2025, there can be no excuses for people calling him a bust. There can be no excuse for it. If there is a time, this is now the time. So for me, Trevor Lawrence right now should be under a ton of fucking pressure to perform. And if any other year, it's this year. It has to happen this year. He has to show up. He has to ball out. And he has to show basically the entire NFL exactly what they believed he was going to be, which was Peyton Manning-esque. And I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, and I want to say something to Sammy real quick. There's winning football games, and then there's winning football games in spite of a player. And I feel like the Jaguars winning that playoff game was almost in spite of Trevor Lawrence's 5 interceptions.
Well, they don't make the comeback without him. Like, I don't think
they need to come back if they didn't. But to your point, Kris, like, you look at this roster from an offensive standpoint, your top 2 wide receivers are Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. And then you brought in Bashal Tutin and LaQuinton Allen out of Syracuse, who basically are better versions of the running backs you have in front of them, and Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne Jr. And don't forget Bayshell Tootin, who I'm a big fan of, and we've already talked about that.
Apparently, shit.
Had 800 yards after contact last year, had a recorded top speed of almost 24 miles an hour, and ran a 40 time fast as shit, and he can catch the football. One of the twitchiest running backs in this draft, regardless of how you feel about him. He got him in the 4th round. And if you haven't seen the Quint Allen out of Syracuse, that is probably one of the best pure receiving backs in the draft. And he's in Jacksonville right now. They have a ton of weapons. Like you said, there's no excuse for Trevor Lawrence, especially after signing that 5-year extension for $275 million, that if he doesn't succeed, it is, I mean, when you were touted as this great thing and you're not even the best quarterback in Jacksonville Jaguars history.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
Bortles?
Bortles got him?
Went to an AFC Championship game.
Byron Leftwich?
Look. There is no prestige when it comes to Jacksonville Jaguar quarterback play. Okay, there is none. So the bar isn't really high for Trevor Lawrence.
And he's not meaning it.
I still think he's gonna turn it around though. He's got.
I mean, the only thing he beats those guys in is the amount of money paid by the team.
I mean, that's true. I mean, hey, look. Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game, okay, which is better than for all the garbage we give Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he has more playoff wins than Justin Herbert. Okay, so and that's a crazy stat thinking about it. I mean, not that Justin. I don't think wins are a QB stat, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make that very, very, very clear. But I will say that I mean, Trevor Lawrence has had some success in Jacksonville, and you know there was a time where we thought that Jacksonville was going to be the class of the AFC South. So I mean, it is what it is when it comes to him. Now I have I chose a different angle when it comes to it. I know I already mentioned Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is one of the people who I think should be under pressure, and we're going to do another video where I will go more into depth with that. But I actually think a QB that should be under a lot of pressure. It's 2 QBs that I'm thinking of right now. They're both in the NFC North. Jared Goff. I know Jared Goff. Thinking about Jared Goff, you think, solid QB. And he had actually a pretty damn good regular season last year up until the playoff game. That's the problem, though. The playoffs, that's when we need your best. And, now Ben Johnson's out of there. And I think right now, as much pressure as there is on Ben Johnson to succeed in Chicago, there's an equal amount of pressure for Jared Goff to succeed in Detroit as well. Do you think just because you lost your offensive coordinator that your drop in play will be acceptable? No, it will not be acceptable. So we expect Jared Goff, yes, we expect Jared Goff to perform at a similar level, at least to a point where they hopefully win a couple of playoff games. And the expectation is Super Bowl. It is, okay? It is 1,000% Super Bowl, and it should be for the Detroit Lions. It's no matter what Jared Goff does in the regular season, I mean, he better perform, obviously. But come playoff time, they need him to make those throws. They need him to step up when he needs to step up. Look, this is not an look. I like Jaden Daniels. I do. He is, but the fact that a rookie QB absolutely outclassed you when you've been to a Super Bowl, that is a shameful thing to happen. And I don't think you should be proud of that, Jared Goff. So I'm looking at you, and you better step up. Another guy that I think should get a little bit of pressure. No, not a little bit, a lot. Jordan Love. Now, there is a section of Packers fans that thinks, oh, we went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now we have Jordan Love. Wow, how did that end up for you, buddy? Like seriously, are we sure about Jordan Love anymore? Because I'm not, and I know. Granted, they don't really have a true wide receiver one, right? They didn't have the wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers had allegedly. But the fact of the matter is, Jordan Love needs to perform at a higher rate. Now, last year he didn't perform bad, but he didn't perform well either. And I feel like that's not a good spot if you're the Green Bay Packers to be in, especially in a packed NFC North, you don't want to be middle of the pack. And I think Jordan Love really has to like show that he truly is a QB. They gave him a lot of money, right? For like 10 games where he really started to perform. I believe he won a playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, which I don't know if exactly the Dallas Cowboys are the cream of the crop when it comes to NFC success. The fact of the matter is they paid him because of that. They paid him because of that. He won a playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, and he performed for 10 games in the regular season. Last year, he was started off slow. Then he started to heat up again. He did get injured, so I'll give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt there. But, man, it's time for you to really, like, put your name up there. I'm not saying you have to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying you have to be Brett Favre. But one thing about those two QBs, they ran their division, okay? They ran it. They didn't just win it. They ran it, okay? So Jordan Love, I'm expecting Jordan Love to have a big year. Matthew Golden is your new wide receiver 1. Congratulations. Hopefully that works out for you. But the bottom line is my expectation for Jordan Love are a lot higher than most. It's gotta be this year where he starts to step up. And the same thing can be said about Jared Goff.
You know, I actually give Jordan Love a little bit of a pass. I think that, you know, they led the league in drops in that offense last year.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And
Granted.
I also kind of look at the landscape of the NFC North right now, and this is the most competitive the NFC North has been in the last 30 years. Realistically, I mean, the Packers were the class of it because in the 90s, the best player for any other team was Barry Sanders. Right? The Bears haven't had a quarterback ever. The Detroit Lions were struggling through mediocrity. I mean, Dan Orlovsky ran out the back of an end zone in the 2000s, and Matt Stafford got his ass beat every single year because their offensive line was garbage and has been up until recently. And, you know, you look at the Minnesota Vikings, and the Minnesota Vikings, the best quarterback they've had in that total span, you know, after, you know, Culpepper was Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins.
I'd say Kirk Cousins.
Right? So, I mean, but this is the most competitive we've seen this division. And to be fair, in the last 32 years, yes, that's right, I went back to 1993, the Green Bay Packers have only missed the playoffs 9 times.
Jeez, bro. That's
okay.
what I'm saying. I think the standard in Green Bay has to be high. I don't care how bad. I don't care how competitive your division is. I mean, Jordan Love, they crowned him as the successor for Aaron Rodgers, and they paid him millions upon millions of dollars to perform at a high level, and they did it after really beating the Cowboys. So, yeah. I mean, I guess they saw, Aaron Rodgers beat the Cowboys. We're going to pay you, son. And that's
who hasn't beat the Cowboys since like 1993?
Let's not slander the Cowboys now. I didn't want to turn into that. But
yeah, right. Well,
I know I started it. But I was just saying facts. You know what I mean?
True. I mean, we could sit here and talk all day about all the players under pressure and everything like that. We gave some ones at the beginning of the episode of that we didn't mention except for in passing. But, you know, hop in the comments. Let us know who you think's under most pressure heading into the 2025 NFL season.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.